June Kim yawned as he looked at his computer screen. The clock on the wall read 11:30 p.m. He was the only one left in the lab. Again. Just one more test, he said to himself. His fingers tapped quickly on the keyboard. Numbers and shapes filled the screen. June was working on something big, a new way to travel using quantum physics. If he was right, it could change everything. The lab was deep under a mountain in Nevada. Few people knew it existed. That's how the government wanted it. June didn't mind the secrecy or the long hours. The work was too exciting. He reached for his coffee cup and found it empty. June sighed. Maybe it was time to go home after all. Then he heard it. A strange humming sound from above. It grew louder, making the lights flicker. June looked up at the ceiling. What the? Boom! The ceiling exploded inward. Concrete and metal rained down. June dove under his desk, covering his head. When he looked up, his mouth fell open. A massive figure stood in the hole where the ceiling had been. She, was at least 15 feet tall. Her skin was deep blue, almost like sapphire. She wore what looked like armor made of some strange metal. Most shocking were her 4 arms, each ending in hands with 6 fingers. Behind her, bright lights shone down from above. Angry voices shouted in a language June couldn't understand. The blue giant looked around quickly. Her eyes, all 3 of them, locked onto June. He tried to crawl backward but bumped into the wall. The giant reached down and grabbed him with one hand. June's entire body fit in her grip. He tried to scream, but fear stole his voice. "You'll do," she said in perfect English, her voice deep but clearly female. "You work here. You have knowledge." More shouting came from above. Beams of light shot down, hitting the walls around them. The giant raised her free arm, showing a device on her wrist. She pressed it quickly. The world around them vanished. June felt like his body was being pulled in all directions at once. His stomach turned. Then suddenly, they were somewhere else. A small room filled with strange controls and screens. It looked like a spaceship, June whispered. The giant set him down on what seemed to be a chair. It was too big for him, making June feel like a child sitting in an adult's furniture. "Stay," she commanded. She moved to the front of the room, her huge hands working quickly over controls. Through a large window, June could see stars. And Earth, getting smaller by the second. "No, wait. You can't just... We're leaving Earth?" June's voice cracked with panic. The giant didn't look back. "Yes, they would kill us both if we stayed." "Who? Who's trying to kill us? Who are you? What are you?" The ship shook violently. On one of the screens, June saw another ship, sleeker and larger, following them. The giant cursed in her strange language. "No time for questions, human. They're still following." She worked the controls faster. The stars outside began to stretch into lines. June felt pressure pushing him into the seat. Finally, the ship steadied. The giant turned to face him. "My name is Nari," she said. "I am Valhari. Your kind would call me an alien." "I'm June," he replied automatically, still trying to process everything. "June Kim. I'm a physicist. Why did you take me?" Nari sat in a chair across from him. Even seated, she towered over him. "I needed a hostage with value," she said bluntly. "Your building was heavily guarded. That means important work happens there. Your badge had the highest security level. You are valuable. But why Earth? Why humans?" Nari's 3 eyes blinked in sequence. "Your planet is under quarantine by the Galactic Confederation. No contact allowed until your species is ready. That's what they say, anyway." "Quarantine? There's a galactic government and they know about us?" "For centuries." Nari checked one of the screens. "They watch, they wait, sometimes they take things they want." June's scientific mind was racing despite his fear. "And you? You broke this quarantine. Why?" "I am criminal to them. They hunt me across 3 sectors. I needed to hide somewhere unexpected." She showed her sharp teeth in what might have been a smile. "No one hides on Earth, too primitive, but that made it perfect." "Until they found you," June said. Yes, until they found me. Nari stood up. Rest now, human June. We have long journey ahead. She walked to another part of the ship, leaving June alone with his thoughts. He should have been terrified. He had been kidnapped by a giant blue alien criminal. He was leaving Earth behind. He might never see home again. But as June looked out at the stars streaking by, he felt something unexpected growing inside him. Curiosity. His whole life, he had studied the universe, trying to understand its secrets. Now the universe had literally reached down, grabbed him, and pulled him into the stars. Well, he whispered to himself, I always wanted to see what's out there. For the first time since the ceiling exploded, June Kim smiled. Taeho looked at the flashing red lights in his small ship. Everything was going wrong. The ship shook hard as it entered the ice planet's air. He had been sent to check if humans could live here someday. Now, he might not live to tell anyone about it. Warning. Engine failure. Crash likely. Use escape pod now, said the computer voice. Taeho grabbed his emergency pack. He ran to the escape pod and closed the door. With a loud bang, the pod shot away from the dying ship. He watched through the small window as his ship turned into a ball of fire. It crashed into the icy ground far away. Taeho held tight as his own pod fell fast toward the white planet below. The landing was rough. The pod hit the ground, bounced 3 times, and slid across ice for what felt like forever. When it finally stopped, Taeho took a deep breath. He was alive. But for how long? He checked his emergency beacon. It was cracked. It still worked. But the signal was weak. Help might take weeks to come. Great, he said to empty air. Just great. The pod door opened with a hiss. Cold air rushed in that made Taeho gasp. The temperature reading showed 70 degrees C. Without his special suit, he would freeze in minutes. Taeho stepped onto the ice. Around him was a wide valley surrounded by tall ice walls. Everything was white and blue. The sky was dark gray. Too small, suns gave little warmth. I need shelter, he said to himself. He unpacked his gear from the pod. He had a tent that could keep heat in, a heater that ran on solar power, 3 weeks of food and tools. The company had prepared him well for accidents, but not for this much cold. Taeho set up his tent near a wall of ice that blocked the worst of the wind. He put the heater inside and turned it on. Soon the tent was warm enough to take off his helmet. As night came, the temperature dropped even more. Taeho checked his map. The nearest human base was about 100 miles away. Too far to walk in this cold, especially since the beacon signal was weak. Someone will come, he told himself. I just need to stay alive until then. He ate a warm meal from his food pack. Then he wrapped himself in a thermal blanket and lay down to sleep. A noise woke him in the middle of the night, something like ice cracking. Taeho reached for his light, but it wasn't where he had left it. The tent felt colder than before. He sat up and looked around. The heater was off. His thermal blanket was gone. What the? The tent door was open a little. Outside, in the faint light of the planet's 3 moons, Taeho saw footprints in the snow. They weren't his boots. These prints were smaller, with strange marks like claws at the tips. Taeho put on his suit quickly and went outside. The footprints led away from his tent toward a dark opening in the ice wall. A cave. He wanted to follow right away, but that would be stupid. It was too cold. Too dark. He went back to the tent, turned the heater back on, and used his backup blanket. Someone is out there, he whispered. Something. In the morning, Taeho followed the footprints. They went straight to the ice cave he had seen. He stood at the entrance, not sure if he should go in. Hello? He called. His voice echoed in the cave. No answer. Taeho took a few steps inside. The cave walls were smooth like glass. Ice crystals hung from the ceiling, catching light in beautiful ways. He moved deeper, turning on his suit light. The tunnel turned left, then right. Taeho stopped. He heard something moving ahead. I know you're there, he said. You took my blanket and turned off my heater. I'm not angry, I just want to talk. A shadow moved behind an ice wall. Taeho caught a glimpse of something that looked almost human, but not quite. please, he said. I'm lost. My ship crashed. I need help. Slowly, a figure stepped out from behind the ice. Teho's mouth fell open. She looked mostly human, but her skin was pale blue. Her eyes were large and dark. She had no hair, but something like soft blue crystals covered her head. She wore clothes made from what looked like white animal fur. She held Teho's thermal blanket in her hands. She didn't seem scared, just curious. That's mine, Teho said softly, pointing to the blanket. The blue woman tilted her head. She took a step closer and reached out one hand toward Teho. He stayed still. Her fingers touched his suit right over the heating unit on his chest. Warm, she said in a voice like ice cracking. You are warm. Teho was shocked. She could speak, or at least she knew some words. Yes, he said. I need to stay warm, or I'll die. Please don't take my heat. She pulled her hand back. Her head tilted the other way. Gu, she said, putting a hand on her chest. Gu. That's your name? Teho asked. I'm Teho. He pointed to himself. Gu nodded. She held out the blanket, offering it back, but when Teho reached for it, she pulled it away quickly. She smiled, showing teeth that seemed too white against her blue skin. She turned and ran deeper into the cave with the blanket. Wait, Teho called, but she was gone. He stood alone in the ice cave. Night would come again, and he was sure she would be back for more of his heat. Teho had to find a way to communicate with her. She might be his only chance to survive on this frozen world. On the third day of their journey, a strong wind began to blow. Snow flew through the air, making it hard to see. Bad, Gu said, looking at the sky. Storm comes. Need shelter. Teho looked around but saw only flat ice. Where? There's nothing. Here. Gu pointed to her feet. Down. My home. She led him to what looked like a crack in the ice. It was small, barely big enough for a person to fit through. Gu slipped in easily. Teho had to remove his backpack and push it ahead of him to follow. The crack led to a tunnel that went down, down, down into the ice. Teho could see only because of the light on his suit. The tunnel got wider as they went deeper. Soon they could walk side by side. How much farther? Teho asked after what felt like hours. Soon, Gu said. Hear that? Teho listened. At first he heard nothing. Then he caught a faint sound. Voices. The tunnel opened into a huge cave. Teho stopped and stared. The walls were smooth ice that glowed with a soft blue light. Holes in the ice served as homes. Suhak moved about, carrying tools made of bone and ice. They all had blue skin like Gu and crystal growths on their heads. The Nari clan, Gu said proudly. My people. The Suhak stopped their work when they saw Teho. Children ran behind adults. Some of the Suhak picked up spears. It's okay, Gu called to them in her language. He is friend. He brings warm magic. An older female Suhak stepped forward. The crystals on her head were longer than the others. She wore many layers of white fur and carried a staff made of bone. I am Yunji, she said in perfect human speech. Leader of Nari clan. Why do you bring a warm blood here, Gu? His skyship fell, Gu explained. He needs help to find other warm bloods. He shares warm magic. She held up the heater Teho had given her. Yunji looked at Teho for a long time. We have seen warm bloods before. They dig the earth. They take the warm from below. They do not share. I'm not like them, Teho said. I'm a builder, not a miner. I can help you. How? Yunji asked. Teho felt the air in the cave. It was cold, but not as cold as outside. You have heat from somewhere, but not enough, right? Yunji nodded. The deep warm is going away. Each season, less comes up. Show me, Teho said. Yunji led Teho and Gu deeper into the caves. They came to a large round room with a pool of water in the center. Small wisps of steam rose from the water. Hot spring, Teho said. But it's barely warm. It was hot once, Yunji said. Now it cools. Soon it will freeze. When it freezes, we must leave our home. Taeho knelt by the pool. He took out a small device and dipped it in the water. What is that? Ji-yu asked. Scanner. It tells me why the water is not hot anymore. The scanner beeped. Taeho looked at the screen. The heat from deep underground is being blocked, he said. Something is in the way. Can you fix it? Yoonji asked. Taeho thought for a moment. Maybe. I need to see the tunnels that bring the heat up. Ji-yu and a male Suhak named Do-hyun took Taeho to narrow tunnels that led under the pool. Hot air should have come up through these tunnels, but only a little warmth remained. Taeho crawled through the tunnels with his scanner. Finally, he found the problem. Here, he said. There's a wall of ice blocking the heat. It wasn't there before, was it? No, Do-hyun said. It formed last season. We tried to break it, but it is too thick and grows back. Taeho knew what was happening. The human miners. They're using freezing water to dig on the other side of the planet. It's changing how the heat moves underground. He returned to the main cave and spoke to Yoonji. I can help, but I need to use some of my tools. They make heat. I can open the tunnel again. Why would you help us? Yoonji asked. Because it's the right thing to do, Taeho said. And because Ji-yu is helping me find my way home. Yoonji thought about this. Then she nodded. You may try. For the next 2 days, Taeho worked in the deep tunnels. He used a laser tool to cut through the ice wall. Then he set up small heaters to keep new ice from forming. When he finished, hot air flowed up from below again. The pool began to steam more. Warmth spread through the caves. The Suhak were amazed. Children touched the warm walls with wide eyes. Adults gathered around the pool. The warm returns, Yoonji said. She put a hand on Taeho's shoulder. You have saved our home. That night the Suhak had a celebration. They sang songs in their strange, cracking voices. They shared food with Taeho, strange but good meat and something like sweet ice that melted on his tongue. Ji-yu sat beside him. You did good thing, she said. I still need to get to my people, Taeho reminded her. Yes. Tomorrow we go, Ji-yu said. But tonight you are Nari. She took a small crystal from her head and gave it to him. This means you are clan friend now. Taeho held the crystal. It was warm in his hand, unlike the ice all around them. I don't understand, Taeho said. The crystal is warm. How? Ji-yu smiled. Suhak secret, we keep warm here. She touched her head. Store warm for cold times. You give much warm to all. I give small warm to you. Taeho finally understood. The Suhak didn't just need heat to live. They saved it, shared it, made it part of their lives. When Ji-yu had taken his heat those nights, she had been trying to connect with him in the way of her people. As Taeho fell asleep that night in a warm ice bed made for him, he realized something important. The cold planet wasn't as simple as it seemed, and neither were its people. In the morning, they would continue their journey to the human outpost. But now, Taeho had more to tell his people than just about a crashed ship. He had a whole new world to share with them, if they would. Listen. Taeho and Ji-yu prepared to leave the next morning. The Nari gave them food for the journey. Yoonji gave Taeho a coat made of white fur that was surprisingly warm. 4 more sleeps to your people, Ji-yu said as they climbed out of the ice caves. The sky was clear when they started walking, but by midday dark clouds filled the horizon. The wind began to pick up. Another storm, Taeho said, worried. Ji-yu looked at the sky and frowned. Big storm. Very bad. They tried to walk faster, but the wind grew stronger. Snow flew into their faces. Soon they could barely see 10 steps ahead. We need shelter, Taeho shouted over the wind. No caves here, Ji-yu called back. Must keep walking. But the storm got worse. The wind knocked Taeho down twice. His hands and feet began to go numb, even in his suit. Ji-yu was stronger in the cold, but even she struggled to walk against the wind. There. Ji-yu pointed to a dark shape. It was a large rock sticking out of the ice. Behind rock, They made it to the rock just as the storm became a full blizzard. The space behind the rock was small, but it blocked most of the wind. Taeho turned on a heater. They huddled close together. "Storm will last many hours," Ji-yu said. "Maybe full day." Taeho checked his map. "We're still 2 days from the outpost. If we lose a day here..." Suddenly, they heard something over the howling wind, a low rumbling sound. "What's that?" "Taeho?" asked Ji-yu, put her ear to the ice. Her eyes grew wide. "Icebreaker, big machine, coming this way." Before Taeho could ask more, the ground shook. A massive vehicle appeared through the snow. It was as tall as 3 men and wide as 5. It had huge tracks that crushed the ice beneath it. On the side were the letters TPC, Terraform Planet Corporation, Taeho's company. "It's my people." Taeho shouted. He stood up and waved his arms. "Hey, over here!" The icebreaker stopped. A hatch opened on top. A man in a thick suit looked out. "What the? There's someone out there." The man called back into the vehicle. Soon Taeho and Ji-yu were inside the icebreaker. It was wonderfully warm. 4 men in company uniforms stared at them, especially at Ji-yu. "A native?" one man said. "We didn't know there were intelligent natives here." "This is Ji-yu," Taeho said. "She saved my life after my ship crashed. She's taking me to the outpost." The leader of the group was a tall man named Han. He looked at Ji-yu with cold eyes. "We've been scanning this section for resources," Han said. "The company sent us to find you after they lost contact with your ship." "Thank you," Taeho said. "But what about the mining on the other side of the planet? It's causing problems for Ji-yu's people." Han shrugged. "We have permits to mine here. If natives are affected, they should move." Ji-yu didn't understand all the words, but she felt the coldness in Han's voice. She moved closer to Taeho. "These people have lived here for generations," Taeho argued. "Oh, we can't just force them out." "We have quotas to meet," Han said. He turned to one of his men. "Wei, take samples from the native. See what they're made of." The man named Wei approached Ji-yu with a scanner. She backed away, frightened. "No," Taeho said, stepping between them. "She's not a thing to study, she's a person." Han's face grew hard. "Move aside, Kim, this is company business." "No," Taeho repeated. "The Suhak have rights. Ji-yu is under my protection." The other men looked uncomfortable. One of them, a younger man named Jun, spoke up. "Han, maybe we should listen to Kim. He's been with these Suhak. He knows more than we do." Han didn't like this, but he saw that the other men agreed with Jun. "Fine," he said. "But we're taking both of you back to the outpost right now. The company will decide what to do." The icebreaker started moving again. Through a window, Taeho watched the storm rage outside. He had wanted to get back to his people, but now he wasn't sure if that was a good thing. Ji-yu sat beside him, looking at all the technology around her with wide eyes. "Your people have much warm," she said quietly, "but cold hearts." "Not all of us," Taeho assured her. That night, as the others slept, Taeho showed Ji-yu a map on a computer screen. "Your caves are here," he said, pointing. "The company is mining, here on the other side of the planet. They don't know about your people yet." "What happens when they know?" Ji-yu asked. Taeho wasn't sure how to answer. The company cared about profits, not native people. But before he could speak, an alarm sounded. "What's happening?" Han shouted, jumping up. The driver of the icebreaker looked at the screens. "Ice! Quake! The storm weakened the ice sheet." The ground shook hard. A terrible cracking sound came from beneath them. The icebreaker tilted to one side. "We're going to fall!" someone shouted. Through the window, Taeho saw that a huge crack had opened in the ice. The edge where they sat was breaking away. "Everyone out," Han ordered. "Grab emergency gear." They rushed to put on their cold weather gear. The icebreaker tilted more. Equipment slid across the floor. Ji-yu moved faster than any of them. She was first to the door, but she didn't run outside. Instead, she turned to help Taeho. "Hurry," she said. "Ice breaks more soon." They all made it outside. Just as the icebreaker slid into the growing crack, it disappeared into darkness. The storm still raged around them. They had emergency gear, but not enough for a long journey. What now? June asked, looking to Han. For once, Han had no answer. The storm blocked any signal they might send. They were stranded in the middle of nowhere. Tae-ho looked at Ji-yu. She looked back, her dark eyes steady. "I know safe place," she said, "but must trust Suhak Wei." All eyes turned to Tae-ho. Would he trust Ji-yu to save them all? "We should trust her," Tae-ho said without hesitation. "Ji-yu knows this planet better than any of us." Han looked at Ji-yu with doubt in his eyes. "How far is this safe place?" "Not far," Ji-yu said, "but hard to find in storm. Must hold hands. Follow close." The men looked at each other. The storm was getting worse. They had no choice. They formed a line, each holding the hand of the person in front. Ji-yu led the way. Tae-ho came next, then Jun, Wei, and Han at the end. The wind hit. Their faces like sharp knives, ice stuck to their masks they could barely see, but Ji-yu moved forward without stopping, as if she could feel the way rather than see it. After what seemed like hours, Ji-yu stopped. They stood at what looked like a small hole in the ice. "Here," she said. "Go down." "Down there?" Han shouted over the wind. "No way. We'll freeze if we stay out here," Tae-ho said. "I'm going with Ji-yu." One by one, they slid down the hole. It was a tight fit for the humans in their bulky suits. The tunnel went deep into the ice, just like the one that led to the Nari caves. Soon, they came to a small cave with smooth walls. Strange blue light came from crystals growing from the ceiling. "What is this place?" Jun asked, looking around in wonder. "Old Suhak meeting place," Ji-yu explained. "From before, no one uses now, but safe." They took off their masks and outer layers. The cave was cold, but not freezing. The strange crystals gave off a little heat. "How did you know this was here?" we asked Ji-yu. "All Suhak know old places," she said. "Places of warm keeping." Han examined the crystals on the ceiling. "These are giving off heat and light." He took out a scanner. "There's energy in them. The company would pay a lot for this." "They are Suhak life," Ji-yu said sharply. "Not for taking. Everything has a price," Han said with a cold smile. Tae-ho stepped forward. "The crystals are like the ones on their heads. They're part of the Suhak, not just rocks." Han put his scanner away, but his eyes stayed on the crystals. They ate some of their emergency food. The storm still howled outside. They would have to wait it out. As night came, the cave grew colder. The humans huddled together for warmth. But it wasn't enough. Frost began to form on their suits. "We'll freeze before morning," Wei said, his teeth chattering. Ji-yu had been sitting apart from the humans. Now she stood up and walked to the center of the cave. She raised her hands to the crystals on the ceiling. "What's she doing?" Jun whispered. "I don't know," Tae-ho said. "I've never seen this before." Ji-yu began to sing in her crackling voice. The crystals on her head began to glow brighter. Then, amazingly, the crystals on the ceiling began to pulse with light. The cave grew warmer, much warmer. The frost melted away. Ji-yu kept singing for several minutes. When she stopped, she looked tired, but the cave stayed warm. "How did you do that?" Han demanded. "Suhak's secret," Ji-yu said, "warm keeping." She sat down heavily beside Tae-ho. "Are you okay?" Tae-ho asked her. "Gave much warm," she said quietly. "Need rest." The humans looked at each other in amazement. Even Han seemed impressed. "The crystals must store heat energy," Jun said, "and she can make them release it somehow." As the others talked, Ji-yu leaned against Tae-ho's side. He could feel that her skin was cooler than before. "You gave your own heat to warm the cave," he said, understanding at last. Ji-yu nodded. "For all, even cold heart." She glanced at Han Tae-ho, put his arm around her shoulders. "Now it's my turn to share warmth." They slept that night in the warm cave. By morning, the storm had passed. When they climbed back to the surface, they could see for miles across the ice. The human outpost was visible in the distance, its lights bright against the white landscape. "We can make it there by nightfall," Han said. He turned to Ji. What you did last night, that's valuable technology. Not technology, she corrected. Life. Suhak life. Han looked like he wanted to argue, but June spoke first. We owe her our lives, he said. All of us. We should be thankful, not thinking about profit. Han said nothing more, but his eyes had changed. There was respect there now, mixed with the greed. They reached the outpost by sunset. The humans there were shocked to see Taiho alive, and even more shocked to see Ji. That night, Taiho sat with the outpost leader, a woman named Captain Park. He told her everything about the Suhak, the Nari clan, and how the mining was affecting their heat sources. We can't keep mining that area, Taiho finished. It will destroy their way of life. Captain Park nodded slowly. The company won't like it, but I agree with you. We didn't know there were intelligent natives here. That changes everything legally. What will happen now? Taiho asked. We'll need to establish formal contact, learn from each other. She looked at Taiho. Would you be willing to be our ambassador to the Suhak? Taiho smiled. I'd be honored. Later he found Ji on a viewing platform looking at the stars. She had been given a room in the outpost, but the humans still made her nervous. You'll be able to go home soon, Taiho told her. I promise. Home changed, Ji said. Warm blood's no Suhak now. Is that bad? Ji was quiet for a moment. Don't know yet, but Taiho knows Suhak. Taiho is good. I'm going to help your people, he said. I'll make sure the humans respect the Suhak. Ji touched the crystal Taiho still wore around his neck, the one she had given him in the Nari caves. Still warm, she said with a smile. Like your heart. Taiho suddenly understood something important. On this cold planet, warmth wasn't just about temperature. It was about connection, about sharing, about life itself. The stars shone overhead, like distant crystals. Somewhere out there, Earth was just another point of light. But here, on this ice planet, Taiho had found a new kind of warmth, one he never wanted to lose. I'm not going back to Earth, he decided aloud. I'm staying here. Jiu's dark eyes widened. Then she smiled and leaned her head against his shoulder. Good, she said simply. Winter less cold with shared warmth. Under the stars, human and Suhak sat together. Different species from different worlds, but united by the most basic need of all, the need for warmth in a cold universe. The end.